Well, good evening, everyone. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived, and then some. On this 5th of March, 2024, I will now call to order the City of Racine Common Council. The first order of business after the call to order is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please rise as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alder McCarthy, are there any excused absences this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Alder Perez is asked to be excused.
Duly noted. We'll move on then to the approval of the council proceedings or minutes from February 6, 2024. Alder McCarthy, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I have reviewed the minutes and I move for their approval.
So motion to approve the minutes from February 6, 2024. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder West. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We have a proclamation tonight for Women's History Month, which I will read into the record now. Whereas the National Women's History Alliance led the movement declaring March as National Women's History Month to create an opportunity to shine a light on the extraordinary legacy of American women who built and shaped our nation. And the 2024 theme of Women's History Month is Women Who Advocate for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. The theme recognizes women throughout the country who understand that, for a positive future, we need to eliminate bias and discrimination entirely from our lives and institutions. Women from diverse backgrounds have long been at the forefront of efforts to address systemic inequities and to promote a more inclusive and just society. And their courageous advocacy for practical goals, such as equity, diversity, and inclusion, serves as a beacon of inspiration for all of us. The City of Racine honors the women throughout history, as well as those working today to champion equity, diversity, dismantle barriers, challenges, and prejudices to create opportunities for all, regardless of their background. And Women's History Month gives us the opportunity to reaffirm our support and commitment to advancing these principles in the face of current attacks against diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and training in our institutions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Corey Mason, Mayor of the City of Racine, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Women's History Month, and to encourage all residents to honor the women who have dedicated themselves to advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and to work together to build a more just, equitable, and inclusive world. Signed today, this 5th day of March 2024. We'll now move on to public comments. I will ask the clerk to read the rules. I will just let people know that there is a clock that goes for 3 minutes. When your 3 minutes are up, the microphone is turned off. That is not a reaction to whatever it is you're saying. It's just treating everybody equally across the board. Everyone gets 3 minutes. I'll ask the clerk to give the additional guidelines on public comment.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker and elected officials or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or discussion. The Common Council shall not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employee or elected official, or any matter related to an individual claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period, as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person should be appointed the designated speaker for the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period shall follow all rules of the Common Council and rulings of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to these rules. Public comment shall be limited to ideas or concerns regarding the City of Racine. There will be 9 speakers this evening. The first is Sonali Kotnik, 3812 St. Clair Street.
Hi, my name is Sonali Kanotek and I live at 3812 St. Clair Street. I'm here to express my concerns about moving the Hospitality Center from downtown. First, I want to thank you all for your service. I applaud the work that the city has done to address some of the inequities in our community. I appreciate the foresight and the hard work that went into getting various projects off the ground. Taking better care of those in need in our midst is another step in the right direction. The reasons that have been cited to justify moving the Hospitality Center needs to be re-examined. Reportedly experiencing harassment as one alder was returning a book to the library is no reason to punish all who receive services from the center. I too have experienced people coming to me and asking for money while I'm by the library. I'm not sure what gives us the right to expect that our walk from point A to point B should be free of interruptions. Rather, we should see the humanity in people, acknowledge them, and walk away when appropriate. Resistance to having a place of refuge for people in need, like the Hospitality Center in downtown Racine, is not new. But surely it is not appropriate to lay blame on the center for the many challenges facing businesses over the last several decades. Saying that we are empathetic to the plight of those the center serves and that identifying a better location would serve all parties sounds nice, but is it really? Instead, how about if we find better ways to support the center? One nice thing I find about going downtown is its diversity. The constant drumbeat that it is dangerous to be downtown is a myth. I live in the city and I go downtown all the time along with the thousands of people who enjoy the many special events, just like the one we had yesterday. Fear stems from the unknown. We need to see and interact with people in all walks of life, all levels of income, and all ethnic groups. Finding an isolated place for people who frequent the center, as has been suggested by one alder, is just plain wrong. We need to have programs and places that welcome people, everyone. Educating business owners, providing incentives to hire people who come to the center, and providing public bathrooms are a few things that come to mind to address concerns. Let us remember Dr. King's call for a beloved community. Everyone should be included in this community, not just those whose voices are the loudest. I strongly oppose moving the Hospitality Center for the reasons stated in the letter authored by Alder McCarthy. Instead, I propose having an authentic conversation with all stakeholders at the table, including those who frequent the Hospitality Center, to find a humane way to move forward without leaving anyone behind. Thank you for listening.
The next speaker is Josh Sopazak at 3212 Terrace High.
Good evening. I'm Josh Sopchak. I think many of you know me, treasurer of Racine Revitalization Partnership, and having been in the role for about a year, still learning the operations and our work. Historically, we've done 11 projects over the last 8 years, and some of them have been to the first-time home buyers at discounted pricing. Others are housing that we use to serve those of the community's highest risk. This period also included a time at which we went through in building during the COVID pandemic shutdown, as well as 2 arsons at one site, and still completed the project. Even with such, we came in under budget and returned over $195,000 to the city in our 3 most recent projects from that. Our financial strength comes from our shareholders who value our mission to create affordable housing in our area. That's also quality housing too. Some of those are forward community investments and Racine Dominicans who have highly spoken about our work in a Facebook post just 5 days ago and attended our recent open house at the 9th Street site. Additionally, Racine Community Foundation had a LinkedIn post 6 days ago to celebrate both our working in the community housing production as well as our volunteer House Proud charity program. Our board is always available, and I am very publicly available and accessible. Yet with some of the noted complaints that I recently heard from a committee and related to their prior references, I haven't been contacted once by any of the parties involved. So for any of those matters in concern, I wish you consider deferring your vote tonight and consider reaching out to me or any of the other board members to address any of the accusations or grievances. We're happy to connect. Additionally, as the president of Salmon Unlimited Wisconsin, I do want to congratulate the city on selection or apparent selection of Patrick Flynn and the team on management of Festival Hall and Memorial Hall sites. I believe the city has found a partner that's vested in maximizing the utilization of these sites and really help celebrate the same reasons that I came to Racine, which is its amazing lakefront and vibrant downtown. So on behalf of Salmon Unlimited, our Salmon-orama committee, and our event partners and volunteers, which includes Old Timers Athletic Club, Volunteer Center of Racine County, Scout Troops 129B and G, as well as many eager individuals, many who we met at the Empty Bowls yesterday. We hope to put on a family-friendly 50th anniversary event worthy of the legendary cheese curds. Thank you.
The next speaker is Bob Reinders at 912 Blaine Avenue.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Reinders, Vice President of the Board of Racine Revitalization Partnership. I've been serving on the board since 2018. In my work profession, I manage the Community Reinvestment Program for one of the local financial institutions. As such, I'm actively engaged with many community-based organizations throughout the state, including those nonprofits operating as CHODOs. As you know, CHODOs are engaged in neighborhood revitalization and offer a major financial resource for them as federal funds made available by municipalities, including home investment partnership funds. It's not uncommon for CHODOs to be highly reliant on home funds. As an example, the CHODO in South Bend, Indiana, after which RRP was modeled, reports that 80% of their revenue comes from multiple federal resources, as indicated in their financial audit. RRP would be severely handicapped without the availability of CHODO home funds. There's no shortage of opportunity to develop affordable home ownership in Racine through both new construction and rehabilitation, as RRP does. In many municipalities, this is recognized by certifying and funding multiple CHODOs. At one time, the City of Racine supported 4 different CHODOs at the same time. The City of Milwaukee has about a half a dozen CHODOs who partner with the City Development Department. They share the federal funding among several. I would suggest that the City of Racine should do the same. RRP has also provided a City of Racine initiative, which we call House Proud. We utilize community volunteers to provide labor to make minor home repairs and improvements for Central City residents who are struggling to keep up the maintenance of their homes. We have operated this program 4 out of the last 5 years with a 1-year absence during COVID. Over that time period, we provided this free community service for over 30 homes in 4 separate neighborhoods, including those in aldermanic districts numbers 2, 4, and 8. No funding provided by the city is used to conduct this program, as it is entirely paid for by contributions and sponsorships. As a result of these and other considerations, I request the Common Council defer action tonight on appointing a single CHODO, pending RRP being allowed to provide additional information on its track record and the merits of its CHODO application for recertification. Thank you.
The next speaker is Lena Anthony at 1341 Washington Ave.
Good evening. I am Secretary of the RRP. I've been with the organization since its beginning. We have worked on many homes. We do a lovely job. I have toured the homes. We like to make sure that we have all of the contractors that we need. We work with many different diverse groups in the city, and 2 CHODOs have the opportunity to do twice the work. And I think we differ enough from the other applicant. I think together the city would benefit from both of us being CHODOs. I think that knowledge is what the council needs to be able to make an informed vote. And as it was stated previously, I don't believe that information has been adequately given to you. And because of that, I think it would be only fair to both applicants that we have an opportunity to show you what we have done, how we have done it, and answer any other questions that you might have of us. Thank you.
The next speaker is Joe Heck, 432 Shoreland Drive.
Good evening. Since everybody's doing credentials, I will tell you that I was recently the board president for RRP, and I had to rotate off about a year ago because of our bylaws. But I keep my hand in. I'm still on a couple of committees. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Racine Revitalization Partnership and their application for CHODO status. Since 2020, RRP has completed 11 projects, including 6 single-family owner-occupied homes, including 2 of those being new construction, the other 4 being acquisition rehab. In addition, the multifamily, affordable rental, and a combination commercial residential building on Washington Avenue. I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about the most recent project, which is at 614 9th Street. 614 9th Street is about 3 blocks from this very building, and it's a 3-unit residence with 2 one-bedroom apartments and 1 3-bedroom apartment. It had previously, about 10 years ago, had been rehabbed using some city grant funds, but unfortunately about a year and a half or so ago, it burned. It was a victim of a fire. And the owners at that time approached the city and said they were looking for another buyer. This RRP stepped up. There was a loan package worked out. We acquired some private financing to purchase the property. Starting about a year ago, specs for the building were put together and contractors were brought through. Eventually, bid packages were evaluated. The bids were awarded. Financing finally came from the city back in July of last year. Construction started in September. It finished in December. An occupancy permit issued in January. Currently, we have an arrangement with the Bethany Apartments to provide housing for their people who are coming out of Bethany. The arrangement is that we will charge rents that are affordable based on their income, and very low market rate. We are in the process of renting that place up. I guess the only, in conclusion, I better hurry. This project just shows that RRP can deliver on a budget, on time, and meet city priority.
The next speaker is Diane Lang at 2908 Ruby Ave.
Mayor and City Council elders. I spent 2 years on the City Council some years ago and 14 years on the Racine County Board. I want to thank you for the public service that you're giving and the good work that is being done in so many ways in our community. Tonight, I am here to urge you to return to working with the Hospitality Center to find solutions to addressing the public policy issues related to poverty, hunger, and the impact of generational trauma that exists in our community. These are not unique problems to Racine, but certainly shared throughout our nation. The Hospitality Center is a local part of the solution to these problems. They provide nutrition, information, resources, access to social interactions in a safe environment, and basic clothing if guests need it. Surprising to me was learning the large number of the guests who come to the Hospitality Center that actually live downtown. In March of 2023, our Congress cut $3 billion in the Supplemental Nutrition Aid Program for our country. It will cut another $6.5 billion over the next 10 years if there's no shift in policy by those legislators at that level. In Wisconsin alone, there's been a 44% decrease in what many families are getting. When I went to nursing school, I needed food stamps and the government commodities that were provided to me. In the early 1970s, when we had our young family, we participated in the Food Share program, and it helped us to live and be able to feed our children. I'm really grateful for those services. Part of my lived experience is that being grateful leads to being generous. Generosity is part of giving back and keeping the cycle of sharing and caring going. We are all a part of the interdependent web of this community. I'm asking that you as the City Council, that you as the Mayor of Racine, that anyone here involved in city development return to working with the Hospitality Center to find solutions and collaboration needed to solve some of these problems. We all desire a vibrant downtown, but policies that foster resentment or a sense of exclusivity or isolation are not helpful. I ask that you restore or continue to give the lead.
The next speaker is Jessica McPhail, 3703 Rio Vista.
Mayor Mason and Alder people, thank you for your time and dedication to all of the residents of the city of Racine. I'm speaking on behalf of Coming Together Racine, an anti-racist organization which voted to write this letter in support of the Hospitality Center remaining downtown. I'm also a member of St. Luke's Episcopal Church, founded in 1842, which has a history of outreach missions including Racine College, the Taylor Home Orphanage, St. Luke's Hospital, Racine Vocational Ministry, and now the Hospitality Center, which volunteers serve breakfast and lunch 5 days a week. We've also recently revived the free Saturday bag lunch program at noon on the second and fourth Saturdays of the month, the last Saturdays. 19% of your constituents live under the federal poverty guidelines, on government assistance, in subsidized housing, at Halo, on couches, floors, or outside. People are hungry because benefits don't stretch that far, or they've had to pay for something else like rent or medical supplies. I wonder why it's important to so many of the alders that the center moves away from downtown, where more than 90% of the guests live within a few blocks. Why is the center being blamed for some people's behavior? Would nuisance behavior go away if the center moved or increase? Is the city ready to help people in poverty who live in the city? Why are we so uncomfortable when we see people in poverty, especially people who look different from us? I think it's important for us to explore that feeling. The U.S. is the wealthiest country on earth. Why are people in poverty? I can say that it's at least partly because of chattel slavery. What that taught all of us, that people with dark skin were only 3/5 human, according to our Constitution, and we're still living with the impact of that lie. There were laws that told us where people could and could not live, work, eat, go to school, deposit or borrow money, get a haircut, or be buried. Those of us with lighter skin benefited from those harmful laws. Most of us are not in the 1%, the richest people in America. We are one injury, illness, accident, missed payment away. In conclusion, the Hospitality Center should stay downtown. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kath Snyder. If you could please state your address when you come up.
Hi, I'm Kathy Snyder, Executive Director for RRP. My address is in Burlington, 8940 McHenry Street. I just wanted to discuss a little bit of the issues that was brought to my attention that the city has with RRP. I can tell you, RRP has never, ever evicted anyone from any of our units. We have 5, and I manage all 13 of them. I did, however, issue a letter to vacate due to this tenant, not tenant, client of Halo. Our lease is with Halo. They put the clients in the house, and this is in Linden. So when I did a walkthrough with this woman only living there for 3 weeks, she had literally tore down all of our hardwired smoke detectors, took the batteries out of the CO detectors. There were, the filth in the house was just unbelievable. Human feces all over the bathroom. So she was ordered, I gave Halo a notice, 30 days to vacate. Because we need to, as a nonprofit who owns this home, keep whoever living there is safe. Affordable rentals do work. This is our first ever call from a client to the city as a complaint. But there were reasons for that. And that was the reason for that. If anyone has any questions, I actually sent the letter to vacate and pictures to Ms. Brown, so she was aware of this. I also want to talk about I know our board did, our performance since 2020. We did finish 11, and we are currently in construction on 2 new construction on Highland. They're going to be 3-bedroom, 2-bath affordable housing that will be sold to 80% or under CMI. Right now the footings are walls are poured, the houses will be set in mid-March. We are on schedule with that. We still have the 5 affordable rentals, so I think from 2020 to 2024, and I took over in 2021, is pretty good for 13 to finish. The other thing I do want to say is the last 3 projects we did finish was grand. We were under contract with the city due to an arson. We built it 3 times, put $221,000 back into with our insurance money, but still sent $105,000 back to the city, which we did for all the other homes. And our performance, I've sent the performance to the city. I would just like a chance to just sit down and just explain all these things, and everything can be explained away via the email. I'm just not understanding where these accusations come from because of my timeline doesn't fit theirs. Thank you very much.
This concludes the public comment segment for all individuals who signed up with a name and/or address on the list.
We'll move on then to committee reports. The first committee report is the Finance and Personnel Committee. Alder West, did you have any items for separate consideration?
I have not received no such requests.
And without objection, we will place these items on the consent agenda and move on to the Public Works and Services Committee.
I have a public comment that I was just denied based on my Fourth Amendment assertion of my right.
So, sir, we've concluded public comments for the evening. If you'd like to come, so you have to list a name and address to sign up. We will have public comment at the. We'll have public comment at the next meeting, sir. If you'd like to sign in at that time, you'd be welcome to offer your. Sir, you are out of order. Sir, you are out of order.
I am not. I'm asserting my civil right to redress my grievance.
So moving on to the Public Works and Services Committee. Alder Jones, did you have any items for separate consideration?
Thank you, Your Honor. I've received no such requests.
Then without objection, Alder Caprillion.
I did have a couple items that I wanted to pull out on the Finance Personnel Committee agenda, but just for clarity, I did hear from the public comment they did sign up. Can we verify whether the commenter, because I believe I just heard them say they did sign up?
So there is no name given. It just says citizen, and it's left blank. Our policy does require people to give a name and address to speak. So, Alder Caprillion, did you have items on finance and personnel you wanted to consider for separate consideration?
Yes, please. Let me just tell you the item. 0169-24. Let me just make sure I have that accurate. Yes. And not so much a special consideration. I just have a question in regards to it, so I don't need to take it up separately.
Could you please state your question then?
Yeah, did we want to read it, or?
Sure. Alder West, do you want to read the item, and then we can direct your question to staff?
It is item 0169-24.
Oh.
Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the city administrator requesting that the mayor and the city clerk be granted permission to execute a management agreement for the Racine Civic Center between the city of Racine and 5kevents.org. Under the subsidiary Festival Park LLC under the terms presented. Recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be granted permission to execute a management agreement for the Racine Civic Center between the city of Racine and 5K Events under the subsidiary Festival Park LLC under the terms presented for the period ending 12/31/2025. Physical note, annual base management fee is estimated to be $150,000 per year. Funding is available in the Civic Center operations account 60686-52290 management fee. Funding was approved December 5th, 2023, pursuant to Resolution 1123-23.
And Alder Caprellian, did you want a separate vote on this, or did you just have a question?
I did have a question.
Please state your question.
All right, thank you so much. So my question is, and yep, good, Kathleen Fisher is here. I happened to look back, and I was watching back on December 5th's meeting, I think is where we discussed also this agenda item, but most specifically, it referenced we have a account line item of 60686522290 for the management fee. I happened to go back into our budget book and looked under that line item, and I see that the funding note, the fiscal note that is presented to us is $150,000. However, in our budget book, it's only allotted $80,000. What was approved by this council body. So I was wondering if you could speak on that.
Sure, good question, Alder, actually. So there's two sections within the Civic Center budget. You're absolutely right. The line item associated with this has a $86,000 budget, whatever that may be. There's another line item under there for a subsidy payment. There is no subsidy that's addressed in this contract for 5K events. So what we'll be doing is taking some funds out of that subsidy line item and putting it into contracted services. The previous contract with VenueWorks included a subsidy type thing in the agreement. That doesn't exist in this agreement.
So for clarity's sake, so what you're saying to me, being that there's $80,000 allocated in the 2024 adopted budget, the remaining balance to make up the $150 will be getting pulled out from another subsidy account for the Civic Center.
In the Civic Center, correct.
But is it not under that same account code 60686522290?
It
Would
is
it be
not.
a different
It's in
one?
a separate account in there. It's in the 60686, and I apologize, I don't have the budget with me, but there is another account number in there.
For transparency purposes, should that not be listed on our agenda and then also within our minutes so we can follow that?
Absolutely. We can add that to the fiscal note. I'm fine doing that. Mm-hmm.
And so what you're saying to me, even I apologize. Do I still have the floor, Mayor?
Yes,
Thank
please
you.
continue.
Okay. So $299,000, I do see that is our subsidy to the Civic Center. So this 150 will come out of that, so minus out of the 290.
Correct.
And then the remaining balance will be in the account number in which you are going to provide us later, which will be part of the minutes.
Correct. And I am happy to email the alders even right away tomorrow morning with the exact language if that would.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. With that clarification, did you want a separate vote on that item, Alder Caprellian, or did that answer your question?
I'm not sure if maybe it should be a separate consideration, just as long so we can put into the vote with the
additional fiscal line.
That's exactly right.
Okay. So, Alder West, would you make a motion to approve the item that you've read as amended to include the additional fiscal line?
Move to approve as amended.
Is there a second from Alder Coe? Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, we are voting electronically today. When the clerk open the rolls, please vote on your screens as you wish. Motion passes 14-0. Alder Caprillion, did you have any other items under Finance and Personnel?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Then the remainder of that report will be placed on the consent agenda without objection. We'll move on to Public Works and Services. I believe, Alder Jones, you said there were no requests for separate consideration. Then without objection, we will move on to Public Safety and Licensing. Alder Pete, did you have any items for separate consideration?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, then without objection, we will place these items on the consent agenda. We will then move on to the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Board. Alderman McCarthy, did you have any items for separate consideration?
Yes, Mayor, I had one item for separate consideration.
Would you please read that item?
It's item 0125-24, subject consideration of the application to operate as the city's Community Housing Development Organization, or CHODO, as you will hear multiple times. Recommendation of the CDBG on 226 was that Habitat for Humanity's application to operate the City of Racine's CHODO be approved. Fiscal note, there are sufficient home funds available to support Habitat for Humanity as the city's CHODO. Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Is there a second on this item? Seconded by Alder Horton. Alder McCarthy, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've heard lots of comment tonight. The primary reason, however, that convinced me that we should be looking at a different CHODO, honestly, is not necessarily the quality or quantity of the work, but rather that RRP has not performed in the requirements associated with reporting the requirements of HUD. As I discussed, in speaking with the treasurer of RRP, they have in fact, in essence, delegated this back to city staff and put the very funding they're seeking at risk. Habitat has teams of people nationally who are experienced and can meet these requirements. Regarding a second CHODO, we don't receive sufficient monies to fund the administration of multiple CHODOs, having multiple administrations from my perspective. And lastly, the federal funds will still be utilized by whoever the CHODO is at this point. RRP can continue doing the work they're doing, which is good work. They can do it as a non-CHODO in the same way that Habitat for Humanity has been doing for years. So with that, I do support the motion.
Thank you. Alder Coe, you have the floor.
Yes. The vote before you is to essentially award Habitat for Humanity as the City of Racine's Community Housing Development Organization. I would like to preface this by saying I have no ill will against Habitat. However, I want you to understand there are substantial differences between Habitat and Racine Revitalization. I have witnessed the positive impact of RRP's work in my district, where they have completed numerous projects. I also need to shield their reputation, as I feel very unfair accusations have been directed their way. There is a bigger picture, and it is crucial you hear it before you proceed with your vote this evening. Since Kathy Schneider took over as Executive Director in January 2022, RRP has demonstrated remarkable progress. There are now 13 successful projects valued at over $1.9 million. However, their work has been significantly hindered by the city's negligence and unresponsiveness. Despite receiving council approval, RRP's projects were stalled for months due to misplaced contracts and a lack of communication from the city. During this time is when I was pulled in and I was made aware. Shockingly, from mid-May to August, the city failed to respond to RRP's emails, impeding the organization's ability to conduct business effectively. In one particular instance, a former employee failed to route a contract as directed, resulting in additional payment delays for RRP. These issues underscore a disturbing pattern of negligence and unresponsiveness from the city, which has unfairly burdened RRP and now unfairly making statements that
Your point of order, Mr. McCarthy.
Mayor, I believe our protocol calls for no attacks directly on our staff, and I'm hearing attacks out of Alder Coe at this point, and I don't think it's appropriate.
So, Alder Coe, if you have questions that you want to direct at staff, that would be appropriate, but I think making accusations about city staff at this point...
Well, I'll try to get through it without that then.
Thank you.
It is crucial to recognize that these delays and setbacks are not a reflection of RRP's competence or dedication. Despite these obstacles, RRP remains committed to creating affordable housing and serving the most vulnerable in our community. Unlike Habitat, which focuses solely on new construction and owner-occupied homes, RRP provides both affordable rentals and home ownership opportunities. They partner with organizations like Halo and Bethany to offer housing for domestic violence survivors and those transitioning out of homelessness. RRP's approach is holistic and inclusive, adding the full spectrum of housing needs in our community. Their projects have increased tax revenues and leveraged significant financial investments totaling over $3.8 million. Losing their vital work would be devastating to our community. It should also be noted that the quality of their work and building materials is commendable and stand out in comparison to other nonprofit-built projects. I strongly urge the Council to ensure that RRP has the resources and cooperation they need to continue their work in transforming our city. I will now read a letter from the County Treasurer which underscores the importance of RRP's work and the potential for even greater success if they are given the support and resources they need. It is a testament to the trust and confidence that other community leaders have in RRP's ability to make a difference. And I got this from Jeff Lattis today. To whom it may concern, I am writing in support of the September 14, 2023 letter submitted by Racine Revitalization Partnership requesting title to 10 tax foreclosed parcels in the Tower View neighborhoods. A copy of the letter of request is enclosed, and there's a list of parcels requested. 8 of these parcels...
Alder Coe, that is not the item before us right now. The item before us right now is whether or not to designate a CHOTA designation. I would ask that you keep the comments germane to what is the item before us.
Well, I think this is germane, because you guys are saying they're not competent, and I'm reading something that states something totally different.
Okay. So, again, what's before us is the selection of one contract over another?
I understand it, but people need to understand what's been going on here, and I think I should be able to continue.
Okay. Please continue.
So there's 10 homes here. 8 of them are in my district, and 2 of them in the 2nd district. They've been boarded up for 10 to 15 years, and we're not going to do anything to move on these. But then I'm continuing. I believe that the comprehensive neighborhood-focused approach presented by RRP has the potential of having a significant positive impact on the Tower View neighborhood. This proposal would result in reduced occupancy density and increased single-family home ownership in the neighborhood saturated with rental units. RRP has demonstrated a pattern of success with previous projects in this and surrounding neighborhoods. The proposal presented by RRP is comprehensive. It incorporates full scope of work, timeline, and funding sources. This proposed project could strengthen the neighborhood, help to provide skills training for a local workforce, and provide access to affordable housing currently in short supply, all vital elements of building and maintaining a healthy, vibrant community. Jeff Lattis, Racine County Treasurer. Thank you.
So there's a lot of comments made about city staff there. I do want to encourage people to look at the briefing memo that is attached to the agenda today, that staff did spend time explaining the rationale for why the selection is made today in reflection of Alder McCarthy's motion. So for those of you who have questions about it or haven't had a chance to read it or need an explanation from staff, just wanted to make sure people were aware of what was there, since there have been some accusations leveled towards staff. Alder Caprillion.
Thank you. I'm appreciative that you read the letter from the county treasurer. I think that there's quite a significance to hearing a full scope of what the significance of our vote. So ultimately, I know that with Alder McCarthy's point of order, there is some bit of red language that can kind of sit harsh on us. But it is good for us to understand the state in which individuals have to function within our government, in which way the government functions outward. And to me, I didn't digest it as harsh language. I digested it as understanding a timeline and understanding how parties are functioning within one another. So I'm sure there could be some defensiveness that may occur when you hear it, but I rather listen to things with a different type of perspective. And it's about getting insight in understanding. So I appreciate that insight. Thank you. I have had the opportunity to read quite a bit of emails and email change, so I understand where that language comes from, because there is some frustration. I don't think there's no shame in admitting that. There's no shame on either side of the party to admit that. That's a place of growth. And so when I'm looking at a vote like this, and I would like to maybe respond to Alder McCarthy's statement about there's not significant funds to go with the suggestions, as public commenters have mentioned about a couple chodos. So I want to be able to address that statement. I heard that too, but I want to back up just a little bit more. When the meeting was called to vote on Habitat for Humanity to be awarded with the chodo status for the city, I questioned why our committee even went into closed session. Maybe that's just like, I don't know if I need that answer, but I need to put that out there. We need to be transparent. There was nothing in there that couldn't have been public facing. We're dealing with it now, too, and we're talking about it. And decisions to open up the possibilities, putting RFPs out there, should be public. I don't see that it was for any reason protecting any party involved. That all should have been public. But, okay, that's hindsight. So one of the things that, and I think I'm deciding here whether it's to open it up for a vote this evening or to refer it back to committee. I happen to do quite a bit of research. I talked to some municipalities that are neighboring us. We often lean to them for many things. But as the public commenter had mentioned, the city of Racine had 4 chodos at one point. So our funding, it's not necessarily we have insufficient funds. I would ask either of the parties, Habitat or our, RRP, if they feel that those funds would be not sufficient. It's just like working with other, I happened to be talking to one of the members of the board of RRP, and he reminded me about the continuum of care and how they work with ESP dollars. And they get together, and it's a very small amount if you look at how those who are working within the continuum of care, their final budget, it is a little bit, but every little bit counts, right? And I think by rewarding just one organization as chodo status does not do our city justice, because they both have significance. If we have both of them and we are supporting them both, it's a wider reach, it's a wider access, because there's one thing the city cannot do, and that's obtain the same grant funding that RRP can and Habitat for Humanity can. So I want you to understand that if you reward just one, the progress on rehabilitating homes or putting homes on vacant lots becomes at a slower progress. So I really think this does need to either be voted on this evening or maybe referred back to committee, because when I was at that committee level, I will tell you, you committee members didn't have any papers before you to read. It was really just sitting and listening on a couple truly a couple bullet point items that were up on the screen. I bet you if I asked you committee members, how much do you know about CHODOs? I probably would only be standing before you for maybe 1 minute. I think you really need to understand that the reason why Milwaukee and Madison, for example, have multiple CHODOs because they realize that they can address more of the housing concerns in their community. It's a far stretch having more than one CHODO. And if home funds are at $660,000, a minimum amount, so this is where the insufficient funds comes from, Terry. They had mentioned at that committee only 15% of it, I'm not going to be able to do the math that quickly, is how they presented it is that's the amount that would then have to be divided between Habitat and RRP, but that's necessarily not the case. The city in the past has rewarded up to 80 or 60% of those funds. It's a decision made by the city, and Kenosha does 30%, but they waver between 15 to, I think it was like 50-some% when I talked to Kenosha. So ultimately, that's a significant amount of money. So I would like to make a motion to refer this back to committee.
There's a motion made by Alder Caprillion to refer this item back to the CDBG Advisory Board, seconded by Alder Coe. Alder Caprillion, would you like to speak further to your motion?
I think, thank you, Mayor. I think the only thing I just really want to encourage those on the council tonight, what a referral does. I mean, ultimately, if you decide just to go with one, you have some time to be educated. You know, it's all about doing our due diligence in this position. I have nothing bad to say about Habitat for Humanity, and I have nothing bad to say about RRP. I think they're both doing really good work, and we need to support both of them. I don't think we need to limit that type of work on our housing stock right now, and being able to allow this to go back to the committee, it allows us to hear and for you to understand maybe what the pros and cons are about having one or two CHODOs, and it allows you to reach out to our neighboring communities who have multiple CHODOs. Thank you.
Alder McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak against the motion to refer back. The presentation was a bullet point presentation. There was robust discussion on this, honestly. I don't see that going back is going to have any different conclusion, honestly, regarding this. I will say that in any case, if there are multiple organizations for whom we're paying administration, there is money going to administration that is not going at that point to the actual mission of those organizations. These organizations can continue to operate, do what they do, and what they do well with or without this. Ultimately, however, I do not think going back to committee is going to change anything. Let's vote it on the floor here.
Alder Jarrett.
Thank you. I tend to agree with Alder Caprillion's view of this, but Alder McCarthy, you did say there was some non-compliance from RRP regarding HUD rules and regulations. I did see there's a couple here in the memo. Will that in any way affect funding from HUD if we continue with the RRP, the RRP overseeing the CHODOs?
Alder Jarrett, I will refer your question to our Director of Development.
Thank you, Alderman. That was a very good question. Yes, we are under audit for some issues related to RRP right now that could jeopardize future funding for our organization.
Alder Jarrett.
Follow-up question, please. And do you have a timeline about when those will be resolved so that we have a better idea of, like, will they find them out of compliance, or is it something like regardless? Actually, no, that's the question.
We received a letter today. I believe our finding, and I just briefly read the email, happens sometime in late March, early April, so we'll have a determination by the end of April.
Okay, well, I do agree with Alder Caprillion, because then that's for me anyways, that's my sticking point. Like, it's more of a compliance issue, because
Yes.
that could affect the monies that could come in.
Exactly.
Alder Coe.
Yeah, just a couple things. You know, there's allegations being made that they don't have funding. Well, one thing I know for sure, if we don't give anybody these 10 homes, they can't go out for funding. The Dominican nuns gave them a $350,000 line of credit to do houses. But if we don't have houses, because we're sitting on them, they're not getting done. And also, if these guys were so bad, why did we give them $436,000 for the Highland project, where they're building 2 brand new homes over there, and the price tags are about $350,000 apiece? If these people were so bad, why are we giving them this funding? Like I said, they have people they're going to go talk to for additional fundings, but the city, for some reason, will not release any of these houses, and they're going to sit there. I went through 3 of them today, and if we don't do something soon, we're going to have more holes. So we need to get a better handle on getting together with this, and everybody needs to get on the same board here. Sorry.
Alder Caprillion.
Yeah, thank you. I just want this council to recognize this is really, I know the tone may come across that there's some tension behind it, but this is a positive thing truly that we're doing. And to refer it back to committee will allow us to continue to talk about how our efforts can really, how our efforts can expand even broader with the minimal amount of money. So $660,000 of home funds is quite significant, truly. And dividing that even to a portion, whether it's the minimum of 15%, 30%, or whatever the city may decide that given year, is pretty significant to a nonprofit. I would like to hear how we can do our very most with that, if you will, minimal amount of money. I would hope you would too. I mean, I feel like that's what we try to do with our taxpayer money. How can we get the biggest bang for our buck? I'm telling you, you are limiting your bang by only going with one Chodo. Truly you are. I want you to recognize that. And so, you know, please allow this to go back. I'm going to tell you, I was at that meeting. I would beg to differ that there was not a robust discussion that took place, and especially in regards to what does it mean to have 2 Chodos. It was just simple answer, well, there's not significant funds, it's only $130-some thousand. Well, I would like that to be expanded. And I also would like to mention that in the past, around the time a lot of this contention happened between the city and RRP, it was during the time we lost a lot of staff in city development. So I want you, on the topic of the homes funds and Chodo, it's a very complicated issue. So it takes a while for staff to probably get up to speed on these on Chodos and the funding to go to it. So, you know, no fault on the city. I mean, everybody has a learning curve, if you will, but maybe they need to investigate why there is a benefit. Again, the bang for the buck, right? So please hear me out here and allow this to get referred back to the committee, and then if it does, partake in that discussion so you can understand it before a final vote, rather than coming this evening with limited information and the only time we have here on the floor to talk about it. Thank you.
Alder Sebastian.
Thank you. I guess I want to agree with everyone on the floor here, but I appreciate where Alder Caprillion, Alder McCarthy, and Alder Jarrett are asking these questions, because as I'm listening to those who are in the audience and the research that I've done and the experience that I have, I too am a little bit confused and would feel uncomfortable making a very firm vote on this. I definitely agree that sometimes 4 hours are better than 2, but again, and I could just, you know, and again, speaking of eyes, as director was speaking here, can't help but notice the RFP people here who are like, what came in through today, that they seem surprised about as well. based on his commentary. And now this is just me being visual. So for me personally, if this wasn't deferred, I suppose I would abstain from this vote because I feel as though I do not have enough education on it as much as I've tried. But I really feel as though, again, I appreciate this discussion, but for me, I think that having a little bit more discussion and a little bit more clarification as to, I didn't even, we learn plain language, right? So I know CHODO as Community Housing Development Organization. I didn't even know CHODO was what it was referred to. So I would just like to say that I think that being able to make a more educated vote for me personally, based on more information, would be very helpful.
Alderman McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree with the assessment by Alder Caprillion that there was not a robust discussion regarding whether to have two CHODOs or not. The quality of the particular CHODOs and their reporting was covered off. With that, I can live with it going back to committee at this point. I will say that Alder Coe has crystallized something for me very much, however, here. What he's crystallized is the mission of the two organizations. We'll be discussing this undoubtedly in committee. One is focused on affordable housing. One is focused on new construction and owner-occupied homes, that being Habitat for Humanity. That is certainly what I want for our dollars. And when we get back into our discussions, if we do choose to defer this back to the committee, that will be part of the discussion as well. So.
The motion before us is to refer this item back to the CDBG Advisory Board. Again, the vote is to refer the item back to the CDBG Advisory Board. When the clerk puts the vote on your screen, please vote as you wish. With 13 ayes, 1 no, the item is referred back to the CDBG Advisory Board. Alderman McCarthy, did you have any other items, or the other item, for separate consideration from the CDBG Advisory Board?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Then without objection...
One was enough.
All right. Then without objection, that item will be referred on the consent agenda. We then move on to the Office of the Mayor report. Alderman McCarthy, we have appointments. Would you like this for separate consideration?
Yes, I would, as always, Mr. Mayor, for appointments.
If you would please read the item.
Item 183-24, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason, submitting the following appointments. Paul Nuschelein to the Sex Offender Residency Board for a term expiring April 30th, 2026. Tavia Jackson to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services for a term expiring April 30th, 2026. Anna Lagath to the Douglas Bid Board. And Paul Sanchez to the Douglas Bid Board for terms expiring December 31, 2026. Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve this item, seconded by Alder Coe. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the clerk will open the roll. When it's on your screen, please vote as you wish. Motion passes unanimously. This now moves us on to the consent agenda. Alderman McCarthy, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Alder Pete. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. We move on to Common Council announcements. Just as a reminder, announcements are limited to recognition of city residents and employees, memorials, and non-political community events. Discussion of matters related to governmental business is prohibited. I just wanted to give a shout out to all the organizers of the Empty Bowls event that was at Festival Hall yesterday. A great annual tradition. It was great to see so many people there. I did the dinner shift. It sounds like a lot of people did the lunch shift, but a good time was had by all. Lots of soup was enjoyed by the community and raised money for very good causes. So want to congratulate everyone that was engaged there. Alder Coe, do you have an announcement?
Yeah, last week we lost a staple in the city, Piggly Wiggly. I want to commend Ralph Malecki and his staff for the great service that he did for the city of Racine. Ralph was involved in many, many different kind of fundraisers, helping their veterans and everything. And I just want to give a big shout out because they are going to be sorely missed.
Alder Caprillion.
Jeff Coe, thank you for honoring really what Ralph Malicki has done with a grocery store, right, and all the work he's done for our community. I mean, him as an individual, but what he's done within the walls of that. So I'm really glad you did that. Thank you for that. And Mayor, you mentioned empty bowls, and it'll lead into what I wanted to celebrate tonight. Empty Bowls back in 2013. I have always volunteered for it, one, because I worked for the homeless shelter, but that year in particular, I was like, gosh, I really want to volunteer, but my due date's today. And so they put me as a greeter by the front door, and which was very wise, and I'm glad that they did, but in less than 24 hours, I did go into labor, so with the help of Empty Bowls. So I am celebrating my son's birthday, which will be this Thursday. He will be 11 years old, so it was 11 years ago. And why this Chambers is so special, it's I was very pregnant when I served on the council before, but I would often use the mayor's office to nurse my child. So my child would have to come with me. Alder McCarthy shaking his head remembers those times. But this was prior to all this technology that we have, but they somehow arranged in the back room in the mayor's office for me to still partake in the city council meeting while I was still able to nurse my child. So it was very special that happy birthday, Kate, is my point of the... Oh, I'll leave that up to you. But I also want to thank, well, Henry Perez is not here, but thank you, Henry Perez, if you listen back to this. And Jeff Coe, you did come and partake in my landlord property manager forum when we had the state come, and it was so successful. And I just wanted to just, tell the aldermen here who have had different type of events to try to get your constituents to come to, first of all, you wonder how well attended they'll be, and then the second part is how will the energy in the room be, right? It's kind of a nervous thing because we are a collector of complaints ultimately. And but the landlord property manager forum, 3 times I had to go get more chairs. And so quite successful. It was the second one of it. It was so positively received that the 1 hour and a half that I had designated for it turned into 3 hours. And it ended with a round of applause. So quite successful. I know other alders were interested. They had conflicts. And I normally have that recorded. I did try to record it, but there was no sound. So I don't know if I had it muted or, on my Zoom. But there will be a virtual one to make up for it. And it will be in April, I believe April 21st. So I'll be sure to put that out there. But I just want to thank those alders and also thank Kelly Reed, who stayed the whole duration as well, and it was so great to have that connection to the city. So thank you to city staff, too, that have been supporting that.
Alder Jarrett.
Thank you. Just following up on Alder Caprillion, just want to wish Alder Perez happy birthday. I know we told him he was going to sing for him if he was here, but he's not. So just happy birthday, Alder Perez.
All right. Alder Horton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to thank all the organizations that celebrated Black History last month, the city who recognized different individuals, the county that recognized different individuals, and all the organizations within the city, that really went out and participated, had a lot of events. Racine Unified School District had a lot of events, and I would just like to say, thank you and congratulations to those that were recognized, and just keep moving forward. Thank you guys for everything that you guys have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Kelly.
Just wanted to give a shout out to my daughter's cheer team. 2 weeks ago, they went to state up in Appleton, so it was a real pleasure seeing how hard these girls worked and to make it all the way to state. So just a shout out to the Racine Lutheran High School cheer team.
Congratulations. Any other announcements? Seeing none, then Alder West, at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned.